The young man in this home video is 23-year-old Will Tahini. Will is dancing with his mum at his brother's engagement party. But less than 48 hours after this video was taken, Will's life would change forever following an horrific road crash. A road crash he'd survive. I'm Ali Langdon, and this is After Impact, a program which looks at the life-changing consequences of surviving a serious road crash. Statistics show that around 1,200 people die on Australian roads each year. And while many of us wouldn't deliberately choose to risk our lives this way, given the number of cars on the road, it appears to be a risk we're willing to take. But a car crash is not just a matter of whether you live or die. It's also a matter of what life might look like if you survive, with potentially serious lifelong injuries. And while 1,200 annual road deaths is devastating enough, the number of people who survive a crash but sustain serious injuries is around 40,000 every year. Just let that sink in for a moment. 40,000 a year. And then ask yourself, what if I was one of them?
My brain for so long, I was in this coma for 38 days.
I shattered my pelvis. I broke multiple vertebrae in my spine.
97 staples from ear to ear.
Like, why can't this be fixed? Why can't I move?
So I had no blood flow, essentially, to my left shoulder and arm. There was no pulse.
I had a closed head trauma, resulting in an acquired brain injury, which is a permanent disability.
It's still unclear if I'll be able to have kids or not.
It's absolutely every parent's worst nightmare.
This car crash has affected my ability to earn a living for myself. I
never saw this happening to me.
We're about to meet 7 road crash survivors whose lives are now drastically different than before. Each one is living with the long-term consequences of surviving a serious road crash. And they'll explain what that crash has cost them in terms of their physical, mental, financial, social and functional well-being. We'll also see how, despite the serious nature of their injuries, they've managed to turn their lives around. Eli had been a genuine contender for the Australian Olympic volleyball team. Like many young men his age, he thought he knew everything, thought he was bulletproof, and wanted to live the life of a badass. He was just 24 when he took one risk too many.
My reckless lifestyle certainly came to a head on May 19th, 2004, when I was showing off to my then girlfriend. She liked it when I drove fast. I was speeding. I was under the influence on the night. I took a bit too fast, lost control, and went head-on into a couple of very solid pine trees.
Holly was keen on outdoor sports, travelling and hanging with friends. She just started a new job when something beyond her control changed her life forever.
When I was 22 years old, in 2017, the 2nd of July, driving home from work in this exact place, at this exact time, I was in a car crash that changed my life forever. As I rounded the bend on this road, I swerved for a kangaroo. I overcorrected and I hit the tree on my side of the car door, taking the full impact.
Lockie's always been an animal lover. He was a qualified diesel mechanic who lived for his work and his rugby. He was just 21 when something unexpected happened.
On the 11th of October 2013, I was on the way home from work. The car in front of me all of a sudden swerved, and then there was a mattress in the road in front of me. I hit that, lost control of the car and shot off the left-hand side of the road. The car hit the concrete culvert that I'm sitting on right now. From there, the car rolled. I was ejected from the vehicle.
John was a motorbike fanatic. He was in a newish relationship with a lady called Sky, and that came with the added responsibility of a stepdaughter. It was just 2 weeks before his 30th birthday when his traumatic accident happened.
The date of the accident was the 25th of November 2015. I was asked to take the postie bike to the motor vehicle registry for inspection. The only helmet available was an open face helmet. I was looking at the speedo and the light had changed to red in the time that I was looking at the speedo, and there was no time to slow down or stop. I hit the back of the car in front of me. I remember the noise, like the crunch noise of my face hitting the car.
Blake is a lovable larrikin who loves the outdoors. He was right into things like rock climbing, camping and road trips. He was 21 and had just become a fully qualified electrician when something happened beyond his control.
On the 1st of September 2017, at this exact spot, I was lying, drowning in my own blood. Through no fault of my own, I was involved in a motorcycle accident where a drunk pedestrian made the choice to walk out in front of me as I made my way home. Unfortunately, as a result of this accident, he lost his life and mine was changed forever for the worse.
Samara was about to start a new job in Darwin. The home she was building was nearly completed and she was totally devoted to her 1-year-old puppy, Hazel. She was just 22 when she misjudged the distance between a truck and the car she was driving.
On the 26th of September 2020, I was in a serious car accident just in the intersection behind me. I had my dog Hazel in the back seat and I was on my way to take her to the dog park, which is just up the road. I was T-boned by a truck and pushed 40 metres up the road.
And then there's Will, who we saw dancing with his mum at the start of the program. He was a FIFO worker who grew up on a farm and loved being on a boat, wakeboarding, fishing and diving. He was just 23 when his world imploded.
June 14th, 2022, got a message from a mate asking if I want to go down to a pub to have lunch. So he picked me up in his car, we drove down there, had a pizza for lunch and a fair few drinks. And we'd organised for a ride home, and on the way home we lost control coming around a corner. We went about 40 metres into the scrub.
In a split second, each of these 7 people had their world tipped upside down, changed forever. But not just their world. You see, after the initial impact, a road crash survivor who has serious injuries will affect the lives of so many people other than themselves.
Our hearts actually sank because it really did tell us this wasn't just a skid off the road or a scrape or something. And the police officer's tone with us was extremely gentle, very, very quiet, and please, you need to go to the hospital now.
I was given initially 5% chance of survival. I had a closed head trauma resulting in an acquired brain injury, which is a permanent disability.
When I first walked in, she was lifeless. They'd put her into an induced coma. She had the breathing tubes. You go to sort of say hello to her and touch her, she was cold. And it was just, not a very nice feeling at all to see your daughter lying there helpless and knowing that you can't do anything to help her.
I broke both my legs, my femur bones. I shattered my pelvis. I broke multiple vertebrae in my spine. I broke my right hip and tailbone, and I had brain bleeds and shearing of the brain, leaving me with severe traumatic brain injury.
It was bad. The car had rolled several times. Lockie had been ejected from the vehicle. He was lying face down on a culvert. I remember jumping out of the car and going across and lying on the ground. He was covered in dirt. He was critical.
What happened to me was very serious. I was in this coma for 38 days. No blood supply for a long time, so I had a big blood infusions, that kind of stuff. And then from there, they've done some x-rays and they've seen that C4 and 5 Maneka, pretty sure it was shattered to a million pieces, and T7 to 10 on my back were broken too. I had 2 rods and 8 pins put in my spine as well. That was to help hold me together and put me back together again.
Initially, when we got to the hospital, it's all playing on your mind what we're going to see. And then when we saw him, we go into the ICU and he's on the table and there's nothing going on. I mean, he was getting help breathing or whatever, and just a body.
The doctor said to me, your bottom jaw's good and your forehead's good, but everything in the middle looks like a box of cornflakes.
But I barely recognised him. I mean, he was just wrapped up. I just knew it was a bad accident.
I suffered multiple bleeds on the brain, severe bleeding to both my lungs. I dissected my subclavian artery, so I had no blood flow essentially to my left shoulder and arm. There was no pulse.
The neurologist came in and said to us that he just permanently lost the use of his arm. And I just remember Blake sobbing, because that's a big thing when you're 21 years old, to be told you're never going to use your arm again. And significantly for Blake, it was his left arm, and he's left-handed. It wasn't something that with rehab or, treatment was going to get better. It was just, that's it, gone.
I got the phone call to head down to the corner, and it took my breath away. I didn't know what was going on. I could hear the panic in her dad's voice. I could hear the stress in his voice. And her dad actually said on the phone, "I'm not sure she's still with us." She was unresponsive for about 6 minutes.
It took the paramedics about an hour and a half to get me out of the car. My dog Hazel, she also had nerve damage in her back leg as well. They told me in the hospital that I had fractured my pelvis in multiple places. I had a deflated lung, so they had to put a tube in my side to get all the rest of the liquid out of the area and reinflate my lung. I had a torn liver, and then I also just had brain damage just from the knocking around of the accident.
So I woke up in the Royal Adelaide in intensive care, and they told me that I had dislocated C5, broken C6 and compressed my spinal cord. I probably didn't understand the severity of it straight away, but I knew it wasn't good because I couldn't move.
And I'll never forget walking into the room where they led me to see Will on a bed just about to have an MRI, and his face was covered in blood, and just the whites of his eyes were looking at me. He said, "I'm sorry, Mum." And then we got to give him a hug, tell him that we loved him, and he was off to have surgery. And then they explained to us that his spinal cord had been compressed, and you never think that something like that is going to happen to your family. And the grief and the heartbreak, and also the holding on to hope that he was going to survive that surgery will always be with us.
I just remember thinking, like, why can't they fix me? Like, why can't this be fixed? Why can't I move? Like, looking at myself and trying to make myself move and nothing happening.
I was nearly one of the first people after his family to go see him, and it was sad. Like, the last time I seen Will, walking, fishing and camping, to what I seen him in a bloody wheelchair, not being able to do anything. His dad was feeding him. That was horrible. That was the worst thing I've ever seen.
Still to come, we'll learn how each of our survivors managed their physical injuries and how they faced the mental and financial challenges.